Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my entitled sister demanded at least half ownership of my house after she found out my fiancé may die. Let's dive right into this legal advice story. So the first legal advice story starts like this. My fiancé was in a car accident about a week ago. He has a 50-50 chance of surviving, though things have started to look up. His sister is also his birth mother. She got pregnant at 13 and his grandparents adopted him. So legally, she is his sister. She has never had any involvement in his life though. His adoptive parents died 3 years ago. My fiancé and I have 2 children together and own a house. We have been together since we were 13 and are getting married this October. Our house is nearly paid off and I cannot afford to pay half of the house equity to her by myself. I have no idea what to do or if she even has a stake in the house. He is 23 and does not have a will. He also has a life insurance policy that she wants half of. I cannot get a lawyer to talk to me without coming in for a $600 plus consultation. I am hoping that someone can give me some kind of direction so I can stop worrying about my children and I becoming homeless and focus on my fiancé. This is in Ohio, by the way. And also Ripe stars, my apologies if I still sound a little bit sick. That is because, well, I am still quite sick. I hope you don't mind. Anyway, comment number 1 said, if you are the beneficiary on the life insurance policy, you owe her nothing. Comment number 2, I would seek a restraining order on your fiancé's behalf. Her talking about getting his money is quite concerning. She should not be allowed in his hospital room unsupervised. Comment number 3, if the sister/mother is causing you stress at the hospital, make sure to let the hospital staff know. They should have rules in place about who is let in and who can get updates, and they have counselors on staff that are really good at keeping family squabbles away from the patients. Your fiancé needs space to heal, and you need space to deal with the stress. Get help. Comment number 4. A will has 0 impact over life insurance payment. The will can explicitly say, I give all my life insurance money to my mom, but if the life insurance beneficiary document says the money is going to the local circus, it's the circus that's getting the money. What's written in the will is a legal nullity. Even if he signed a will 5 years ago, before he had kids, a court is not gonna disinherit kids that were born after the will was drafted. It's easy to challenge it. Not as easy to get anything for you, but you can manage the kid's inheritance. So no matter how you slice it, she is blowing smoke. Either she has a fake will and will get in trouble for perjury if she tries to probate it, the will is old and subject to challenge by the kids, or there's no will and the intestate succession rules another user laid out apply. Focus on your fiancé and getting him better, ignore his crazy family for now. Hopefully he makes a full recovery and this is just an academic exercise anyway. Comment number 5, if he is conscious, get married. Now, your rights as a spouse override any of her BS unless her name is also in the house deed but you say not, or he sent a proper form to the insurance company to change beneficiaries. The law still gives lots of preferences to marriage. That holds true in every US state. The hospital will be able to assist with an in extremis marriage, but he has to be conscious and not too drugged up. I'm sorry your guy is in such bad shape. Hopefully, this will all be a good story for both of you to tell your grandkid. Update to the story. My post got a decent amount of attention. I thought I would update since I still get really sweet messages from people wishing me well and praying for me and my family. So my fiancé, now husband, did pull through. He is currently in our backyard setting up a tent to camp out with our 2- and 3-year-olds. He was in a coma for over a month and the doctors were pretty sure he would never wake up. His recovery was slow and he still goes to physical therapy 4 times a week, but he's pretty much back to normal now and we couldn't be happier. Although it was a horrible thing to go through, it changed both of us for the better. You don't realize how much the small things matter until they are about to be taken from you. He was appalled by his sister's actions when I finally discussed it with him. We recently both made wills and made sure there's no chance that sister-in-law or brother-in-law will get any money if both of us were to pass, or God forbid our children too. We also chose godparents for our children and we are expecting a baby girl in 2018. I really appreciate all of the sweet, thoughtful messages that I was sent. They definitely made me feel better on bad days to know how many people were praying for him. And yeah, Ripe stars, I'm really happy that the situation turned out well for OP and that they even got married and even expecting a kid. I hope that the entitled sister gets absolutely nothing, and it exactly seems like that's what's gonna happen. Sometimes these legal advice success success stories really make me feel good. If you still enjoy r/legal advice, then please let me know in the comments and I might continue with it. Either way, the next one is an HOA story that is titled HOA claims they bought my 150-year-old ranch at an auction, but I've never heard of this HOA. So before posting my story, I decided to read through a bunch and see how so many other people had problems and interactions with other HOAs. What I did not see anybody else deal with was meeting the HOA for the first time when they tried to claim ownership and take it away. So I live on a large ranch and have for my entire life. In fact, it has been in my family for about 150 years with us running it. Even some of the people that I hired to help for the ranch had parents that used to work on it. Nearby is a residential area that started gaining attraction when I was younger. Figure maybe 20 to 25 years ago, we never had much contact or association with them. A ranch is too much of a full-time job. So I did not even know that they had an HOA. I started getting letters from that HOA claiming that they had purchased my ranch at a property auction and needed me to vacate. The letters basically counting down how long I had to leave my own property. With no information on it on how to contact anybody from them to explain that they must be confused. Finally though, one of them came to my house about a week after the eviction date in the letter, and of course it was a woman that fits the description of Karen with her personality. She showed up to try and tell me that I had to leave, but I told her that I never sold the property in the first place. That my family owned it outright and it never would have been in an auction. Those are always, I think, for places that the bank had to take due to lack of payment and foreclosed on. I told her that she might be confused, but she just waved papers in my face and told me that I needed to leave. Me, listen lady, I don't know who you are, but I know for a fact that you did not buy my land. This ranch is mine, and if you want me to give it up, then you would have better luck waiting for me to die, because I would never give it to you. Karen responded, well, aren't you just nasty? I'm showing you the papers that I own the property. It's not my fault that you couldn't pay for it using horse manure or whatever that horrible smell is. You can either leave on your own or I can make sure that you're removed. Me, I would like to see you try that. I have rights and I know them clearly more than you do. I don't know if you gave somebody money for this land and they gave you those papers or if you forged them yourself. I can promise you though that these are not real. Karen just did not want to give up and about a week later showed up on my ranch with contractors and started to build something. With all my protests falling on deaf ears, Karen telling them that she was letting me live on the property, but I was not the owner and to just ignore me, using her fake papers to get them to keep working on whatever the hell she was building. I knew I was in some deep trouble and went to find a lawyer to see what I could do. She was basically just trespassing on my land and I had never experienced a person like Karen before. He told me to tell the police that she was trespassing, which is exactly what I did. But since the ownership of land was up for question, they could not make her leave without her having the police make me leave as well. So basically I had to take this in front of a judge in order to get her to stop and to get some answers, since she refused to say anything to me or my lawyer outright. Court was a hassle, but I found out the good news from my lawyer that I had an advantage. Since the home was mine, it was gonna land on Karen to prove that she bought my property. With me questioning how the state could have auctioned off my ranch without me knowing about it, land auctions have solid records usually, and the police had resources to go digging around that normal people just did not have. When we went to court, the DA kept asking Karen questions about the auction information and she just could not give any. She was rattling off what was on her forged sheet, but as soon as she did that, the DA showed a complete list of the supposed auction, the properties and the people who bought them, with Karen or the HOA not being shown as a purchaser, nor my ranch being on the docket at all. The documents were examined closely by professionals and shown to be different from real ones in very slight but obvious ways. To me, they looked the same, so these experts must really know what they are doing. It amazed me how a person can train to find the smallest changes in detail to show that something is fake. Now Karen was in real trouble, but it was not gonna just end here for her. It turns out this was not the first HOA that she was the president of. In fact, it was her fourth one and the third name she was using in order to try and keep herself slightly hidden. She had been a part of multiple HOA schemes that involved gaining land or homes under false ways for the money. And then before getting caught, she would legally get her name changed and move to another state. For those that don't know, the moment crimes take place over multiple states, it means that it is now a federal offense. Those are more serious, and Karen was about to learn the harsh consequences of her actions. The forgery and fraud alone are felonies that can give a pretty decent amount of time in jail. She was also being charged under the crime of racketeering, since she was doing this over several states in a very organized crime kind of way. That just meant even more time added to her sentence. The HOA was new as well and only formed because Karen moved in and started it. Without her and now the whole thing being tainted, it just dissolved pretty quickly. Nobody wanted to be a part of something that caused a woman to go to prison. Meanwhile, all the work she had done on my property was removed and things got back to normal on my ranch. My property was protected so that I can keep my land and try and preserve it for even more generations. I was also lucky that I managed to get Karen to pay my legal fees for when I was personally suing her. Suing her for damaging property and harassing me, I wanted compensation money. I did not get a lot, but it was enough, and the fact that I had my legal fees paid for as well really helped me. In order to even pay the lawyer in the first place, I had to sell 2 horses to another ranch and was luckily able to buy them back after the whole ordeal. Suffice to say, I don't think I will ever see Karen again. I hope she will enjoy a life in prison. Maybe she can try and start a scummy HOA in there as well. Let's see how that goes. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I would actually pay money to see an entitled Karen try to start an HOA or maybe a PCOA, Prison Cell Owner Association in prison, and see how that goes for her. Either way, if you have enjoyed this story so far, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and maybe even post a comment because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much, and the next one is titled, Am I the a-hole for making a dad joke? So my stepdaughter Madeline was about a year old when I married her mother Jessica. Madeline's father died before she was born, and Madeline is currently 15 and she's rebelling for almost everything. She did something bad, so while picking her up, I set a punishment up for her. Then she said, "You're not my dad, I don't have to follow you." And honestly, I got a bit hurt from that. But I do understand that she didn't mean it and that she would probably change. I just replied, "I'm still your legal guardian for the next 3 years, and as long as you are in my house, you have to follow my rules." So that happened about 2 days ago, and our family was going grocery shopping when Madeline said, "I'm hungry, I need food." I decide to be extremely cheeky and say, "Hi hungry, I'm not your dad." My son just started to laugh uncontrollably, my daughter was just quiet with embarrassment. My wife was berating me and said not to stoop down to her level. I honestly thought it was a funny dad joke and my son agrees. So Reddit, am I the a-hole here? Edit, by the way, I did adopt her, so legally I am her parent. And here, Ripe Stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this one. A comment on Reddit said, "Everyone sucks here, but that was one hell of a joke and I congratulate you for it." Comment number 2, not the a-hole if it was a one-time thing. Teenagers are a special test of our patience. Comment number 3, not the a-hole. Your daughter is 15, so she is somewhat of an involuntary a-hole by virtue of being a teenager. What she said was hurtful, but chances are that she will come around with maturity. Your dad joke was funny and harmless, and I'm seriously struggling to find anything negative to glean from it. Even when I was an a-holy teen, I enjoyed my dad's cringeworthy jokes, so this just comes across as very wholesome to me. Comment number 4, everyone sucks here. My dad is not my biological father, and when I was a teen, I went through similar angst and wanted to lash out at him. Now, I had the good sense to know that saying something like that would be extremely hurtful, so I never did. But also, if my dad ever said something like that, especially in front of my brother, who is his biological son, I would have been heartbroken. I think you need to sit down and have a discussion with her about those kinds of comments, in my opinion, if you don't think this is gonna hurt her for a long time. And here, Ripe Stars, to be honest, I don't really know what to think about this one. However, if I would adopt a kid, I would never say anything close to, "I am not your real dad" or something, even if it is just a joke. Maybe that's just me being sensitive, but then again, the daughter was kind of an a-hole in that situation too. Let me know what you think in the comments. An update to the story was available as well, and it reads like this. Mini update, I will probably give a full update later, but here's what happened. So I go to my daughter's room after dinner and begin talking with her. "Hey, I'm really sorry that I hurt you by the words I said, and I'm really your dad." I changed your diapers, I met your boyfriend, and I plan on helping you through college. And plus, I'm legally your dad, so we are stuck together. But seriously, I'm gonna love you like my daughter even if you don't think I'm your dad. Then I hugged her and she did start to cry. I assume that's good. Final update, my son found the post and shared it with my daughter. This was after apologizing to her. She cried again, so last week we decided to have a father/daughter bonding weekend. And honestly, it was awesome. I took her bowling to get a manicure, becoming Disney princesses, I looked awesome as Jasmine, and so forth. She loved it, I loved it, everyone was happy. Then we decided to go out to eat dinner, and I said, "I'm starving, what do you want, Maddie?" She said, "Hi starving, I'm not your daughter." She had this biggest smirk on her face, she hugged me and I kissed her forehead. I'm sure she had been planning this for weeks. And yeah, Ripe Stars, it's good to see such a positive ending on an Am I the A-hole story. Either way, the next one is a petty revenge story. Years ago, I worked for a large retail chain under your typical promoted because he's one of the boys manager. He did not do much that actually needed doing in our department and even foisted things like employee reviews, product resets and counts, etc. off on me. He mostly hung out shooting the crap with his buddies and chatting with customers, although he did not sell much because he always tried to push everyone towards the highest end product, even if a more moderate one would suit the customers better. The company rewarded him with prizes like trips and gadgets for our high sales. Sales that I largely made with the team I trained, and then he would brag about all the cool stuff that he got. I did not like him much. One thing he loved talking about constantly was his baby, maybe 9 months old. He even made a picture of the little tyke, the wallpaper on our display computer. And yeah, I get being a proud papa, but on top of me already being annoyed with him for being a crappy boss, his baby was weird looking. Nothing was wrong with the baby health-wise, but it was bug-eyed and big-headed like its daddy. This was especially highlighted because babies are already naturally a little like that, and this kid was like if Megamind screwed a puck, and I had to look at a picture of it all day and all the customers saw it. So I went into a photo editing software and increased the size of the kid's eyes by about another 10%. Not enough for daddy to notice, but enough that it was startling if you were seeing the picture for the first time. Uncanny Valley vibes. People would subtly react when Bossman showed them the picture and talk about the kid. Like, they wanted to say something but absolutely knew that they shouldn't. It was small, it was petty, and I still giggle about it years later. Hopefully, the kid grew up to look like mama. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. So I am part of a charity group that tries to create inclusive events where all proceeds can go to a charity. Since Japanese culture is very popular, we decided to host an event that shows and celebrates it. Of course, we get the help of locals that are of Japanese descent to make sure that we are doing everything appropriately. We worked strictly with Japanese business owners for the merchandise we would be selling and picked a charity that specifically helped Japanese people in America. Basically, we did everything in our power to make sure that the event and everything in it was sensitive to the culture and appropriate. One thing that I love about the culture are the formal clothing, and I wanted to wear some of that at the charity event. It took place in a small gym area that we went regularly to host these kinds of events. I was wearing a kimono, traditional Jeta or Jita, I'm not sure, shoes and a fake sword on my back. I asked some of the Japanese people that were helping if my outfit was okay and they said it was fine. Anyway, the event was going really well and the stuff was selling better than most of our events in the past did. Like I said, it's very popular here and people wanted to get their hands on things. One stall of note was one selling katana blades. They were not fully sharpened and we were a little worried still about having a vendor selling weapons. We decided that it would be fine as long as it was only adults allowed to purchase and they could not be taken out of their casing in the gym. Other than that, the products ranged from snacks, traditional wear, more pop culture style Japanese shirts and of course anime merchandise. The woman that lives next to me ended up being at the event as well and I kind of wish that she didn't. I had problems with her in the past and she was a little bit entitled to say the least, which I like to avoid when possible. I was worried she would complain about pricing or something and try to get free stuff at a charity event. What I did not expect was her to actually purchase things normally before seeing me and getting then right up in my face. Neighbor Karen: "Why are you wearing that stuff?" Me: "Oh well, as you can see, we are raising money for charity as well as awareness and education about the Japanese culture." Neighbor: "It's illegal for you to be wearing it though." Me: "If you're worried I just took it, I can assure you that I paid for it just like everybody else." Neighbor: "Are you Japanese?" Me: "No, a lot of people here are not." Neighbor: "Exactly. You're wearing that stuff and it's cultural appropriation and you should be ashamed of yourself." Me: "Wearing things from another culture does not mean that I'm appropriating it. You can see that plenty of white people here are buying traditional clothing and items." Neighbor: "Take it off right now." I want to quickly point out that my neighbor is also white, so she really doesn't get a say in any of this. If she was Japanese, then this entire conversation would have been different. She was just as white as I was though, and did not have a right to dictate Japanese culture to me. Me: "I'm not changing right now. I am working, and if that's all you want from me, then please move on. Or leave if it upsets you that much." I turn away from her, which turns out to be the worst idea ever, because one thing she bought was a katana blade. Unlike literally everybody else, she ignored the signs and warnings and pulled it out right there and then. She then took a swing at me and got me in the shoulder. I was extremely lucky that she was dumb enough to not know to take the sheath off, so I did not get cut. She just hit me very hard. I still went down from the unexpected blow, and the security was immediately all over the scene. Per rules and regulations, we have to hire security for these events, and they are always very good and on top of the rare instances of trouble. She demands that they don't come near her, and before I know it, she is calling the police, telling them that she is at the event and I am wearing indecent and illegal clothing. That it is offensive and that they need to come and arrest me right away. Security does everything in their right, which is to detain her in a separate area until police can arrive and speak to everybody. They come, and of course she starts talking about how I am dressed wrong and I cannot just wear clothing of a culture that I am not a part of. She then says I verbally abused her and tried to kick her out even though she was spending a ton of money on things here. I tell the police the truth and that I want her removed for breaking the rules and not only taking out her katana blade but attacking me with it. I showed them my shoulder, which at this point is already starting to form a nasty looking bump and a bruise. She denies all of this of course, but the security backs me up and saying that they saw the whole thing. My neighbor then tries to shift again about what I am wearing and that cultural appropriation is illegal. The police explain to her that even if what I was wearing is cultural appropriation, which it isn't, that it is not a crime. Attacking somebody on the other hand is a serious crime and her pulling out a weapon at this event could even be considered a threat to public safety. Then an officer turns to me and says that they can either have her removed from the area like I said I wanted, or I can just press charges for assault. I'm not usually a petty person, but something about getting attacked and then getting the cops called on me changed all of that. I told them that I wanted to press charges against my neighbor for assault with a weapon and that she was taken out of the gym in handcuffs. The rest of the event went fine and I iced my shoulder, which hurt me for quite a few days afterwards. I know that you probably want to know what happened to my neighbor though, so I will skip right to that part now. With the eyewitnesses for what she did and her having no kind of defense for herself, she was pretty much screwed. The only thing she could even come up with was that my outfit was so offensive it made her fear for her life and it was self-defense. As you can guess, nobody bought that story of hers and she was found guilty. Since the katana was considered a weapon even though the blade was not out, she was going to jail for assault with a weapon. She was given 2 years with the option of parole in 1. It was not a long time by any means, but she was not the type of person that I can guess would fare well in jail. Her husband apologized to me and said when she gets out, he is going to make sure that she leaves me alone. I could tell that he was really embarrassed about the whole thing, but did not even try to defend her. And the next one is titled, Karen Hates Dogs. So I want to start with that I love dogs. I had dogs 80% of my life and I just love them. I just currently don't have a dog. Okay, with that in mind, here's my story. I just started living in this nice suburb at the beginning of this year. It's a quiet area and my girlfriend and I really like it here, but there is a neighborhood Karen. She is your stereotypical retired woman just trying to find something to do with her day, and what she does is walk around the area complaining. Her complaints can be anything about anything, and most of the time she leaves a note on people's mailboxes. I have gotten many of these. Things like, your grass is too long or your cat is dirty, but when it comes to dogs, she loves to call either the police or code enforcement. A coworker/friend of mine lives close by, and Karen has called the police or whoever on his dog many times. There have even been a few fines handed out for things like dog at large, so sometimes you choose a plan and sometimes a plan chooses you. In mid-October, I was shopping with my brain firmly in low power mode, and I see the shelf of warning signs including "Beware of large dog." The word large caught my eye and got my brain moving. Thoughts like, if I put this up, can I fool her? And if I do this, will I be a neighborhood hero? And in the end, I decided not all heroes wear capes, but I put up the signs in front of my house. It took a few days for me to see Karen looking at my signs and then started staring at my house. Or at least, it took me a while to see her kind of stalking my home. Some days she is kind of subtle, and some days she kind of does a wonder thing where she is pretty much pacing the area. About 3 weeks after putting up the signs, I was shopping at my local Goodwill, because I am classy like that, and I saw a 3-foot dog chain for $2. I was hatching my plan before I even had it in my hand, so there was a chain but no collar, and clearly I needed a big collar. I could not find a big collar, but I did find a woman's belt. It is thick with square studs on it, so it kind of looks like a collar for a large dog or maybe a small horse. I hope no one saw me on my drive home. I had the most evil smile on my face the whole time. So the collar and chain are hung by the door for when I would need them. My girlfriend has been rolling her eyes at me through all of this, but she has put up with weirder things from me, so she is fine. After 4 days on the hook, I see Karen down the street and I race for the door and grab the collar with the manic glee of a child at Christmas. When Karen walks by, she sees me holding this monster collar, yelling "Baskerville! Baskerville, come here boy!" Followed by lots of whistling and wandering around looking behind my car and things like that. Karen sees this and her eyes go wide with pure but silent terror. I started to smile, so I used my hands to cup over my mouth and kept calling for Baskerville and walked behind my house. I was holding in my laughter so hard I may have gotten a hernia, but if I did, it was worth it. I have done this same thing 5 times in the last few weeks and it is still as fun as the first time. I'm pretty sure I have wasted 14 afternoons of this woman's life. She has spent so much time trying to catch my beloved Baskerville at something that she can call the cops on. So far, no one has come to my house like a cop or whatever, and I'm pretty sure Karen has caught on to what I'm doing. I only spent $20 on signs and a collar and a belt, so I feel like I got my money's worth. And yeah, Ripe Stars, a collar and a belt and a sign may cost $20, but messing with Karen and pissing her off is just priceless if you ask me. Did you ever have a dog-hating neighbor? If so, what did you do, or has the neighbor done anything to you? Let us know your experiences with any potential neighbors from hell in the comments. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.